So I don't know about you guys, but I think the vast majority of people don't like to have to always do maintenance and clean, and they have a lot of stuff going on. I got 5 kids, a mortgage, a life. These are all choices that I make, but other choices I make, especially when it comes to my everyday carry, sometimes I want to have things that have a little bit less maintenance. So let me suggest some that you might want to avoid. All right, so it's a little bit of weather out here. Of course, I'm an amphibious warrior, so I don't really care. But the very first thing you got to avoid if you don't like a whole lot of maintenance and stuff for your EDC is budget knives. I'm talking about knives that are like 420HC, 440A, 440B. You're going to be doing a lot of maintenance for those type of knives. They don't have the corrosion resistance, the hardness, the toughness, the edge retention is the biggest thing. If you're not a big fan of sharpening a lot of knives, sharpening all the time, worrying about the weather actually corroding your stuff and making it no more viable or anything like that, you're gonna have an issue when it comes to super budget knives. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to go out and get an M390 or S35BN or S30V, which are almost indistinguishable. There's been a lot of things that come out lately, like Magna Cut came out in 2019. People kind of drew all over themselves for that blade steel, but it's a pricey boy. I would suggest, if viable, to try to get yourself some crucible type steel. Maybe get like a S30V, which does have the corrosion resistance and a decent edge retention. And when it's time for you to finally do that type of maintenance, then you're going to be able to bang out that knife sharpening pretty much on your own without any huge issues. In my pocket today, I'm carrying the Vodsteed. This is the Thunderbird. This is an M390 blade, probably complete overkill. This thing is probably close to, I don't know, I didn't pay for this. Shout out to Vodsteed for sending me this out. Would I buy this? Probably not. But would I get something of this quality to try to avoid having to always sharpen some stuff? Yeah, absolutely. But if I wanted to get something that was a little bit more viable, Buck is known for their heat treatment, such as Buck can make 420HC their bitch because of the way that they heat treat their knives. That being said, you can also get yourself like a Buck 112 Pro. Come through with this thing here, a nice lock back. This is coming through with a nice S30V steel. It's gonna have some good edge retention, have a good way for you to be able to do your own sharpening and not be completely impossible to knock out. But whatever the case may be, you can try to look at some D2 as well. Maybe some coated D2, some type of D2 with some coating on it. Like I have this D2 knife here by Boker. It's a little scalpel knife, but this is not coated. It's gonna have a decent edge retention compared to S30V, but it not being coated may be susceptible to some rust. So you might not wanna take this out there with you all the way in the field or in rain environments, or if it gets wet and you don't have time to wipe it down. I don't wanna sweat that type of stuff. But if you're into not having to do tons of maintenance, just check your knife steel. I'm not trying to tell you to spend a ton, but a gas station knife might not be the way to go.
My walk's going in trouble and I'm about out of gas. I'm just trying to find a good way to land it back and find this.
Oh, get a little bit of, yeah. It's all right, man. What about you? But hopefully you get this thing back down there, man. I'll catch you later on. You know, the next thing I thought about in regards to everyday maintenance type of stuff that always gives a little bit of extra headache when it comes to your EDC stuff has to be non-rechargeable flashlights. So if you got a flashlight that is something like one of my favorite, AA or AAA anything. So here's a Coast G22 flashlight. Nice reliable thing, takes a nice AA. I think it takes a AAA battery. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it takes a nice AAA size battery inside of this thing. The moment that you forget to actually keep fresh batteries inside, alkaline batteries tend to corrode and leak. And also they just die because of weather. Weather is not your best friend. The longer they sit, the longer you have to worry about that type of stuff. You also have to concern yourself about the actual O-ring of the flashlight itself. These things have little O-rings that keep the corrosion around the threads and stuff like that. So as much as I love AA or AAA, this can be a whole headache to have to worry about the maintenance, remembering to keep fresh batteries inside and stuff like that. Now you can always try to get yourself something like the Streamlight, the Wedge, or anything basically that has a rechargeable battery, preferably rechargeable battery that you don't have to take out. Like I like the Vodsteed Raylight combination, the Rook, but you have to take that battery out and charge it with USB Type-C. You can find yourself something like this, the Nikkor EDC 33, a brand new flashlight I just picked up recently. This has a rechargeable battery and you can't even remove the battery. Now that could be a headache to you sometimes. You might want to have the ability to remove it whenever you want to and stuff like that. That's something you're gonna have to think about. Do you want to get something that you can't remove the battery whatsoever? You can also look at stuff from Olight. You can look at stuff from Nikkor. You can look at stuff from Phoenix, Streamlight. But having to remember to change out batteries, nah, I'm just leaving Target. If my Coast batteries were out, I can just pop in there, grab some batteries. But if you're already out, you need your flashlight now. You're trying to find something underneath your vehicle, find something that's super important, and all of a sudden you can't do it because you don't have it, it can really, really suck. So rechargeable flashlights might be the way to go. That brings me to my next point. If you're not a big fan of doing maintenance on natural items, wax canvas, leather, jade, brass, copper, then you might want to avoid some of those things. Something like this, the water-filled Tech Sling. I like this thing a lot, but it does have full grain leather in the front. It's going to have to be maintenance. Wax canvas on the side. Eventually it's going to have to be re-waxed. If you have yourself something that's made out of copper or similar to that, you're going to have to worry about doing maintenance to that. Even small things like brass here on my keychain, copper's right next to it. If you're not a fan of the patina, you're going to have to go through measures to try to prevent that, reverse it, whatever, or just allow it to live and breathe. So you may want to look at the stuff that's made of aluminum, stuff that's made of ballistic nylon, other types of fabrics, things that have a lower maintenance threshold, because as nice as this sling is, if I neglect it for a full year, leather can begin to crack, wax canvas can look atrocious, and you might want to think about that before you make those type of purchases. Overall, I'm a big fan of that type of stuff, but if I had to do overly tons and tons of maintenance that I wasn't interested in for those things, it would make me revisit, do I even want to put those things in my arsenal for everyday carry? I've known folks that have gotten stuff from like Nutsack, the wax canvas, and a year down the road, they're very upset that they have to re-wax it, and oh my God, this thing looks horrible. Or you have some leather products, some leather wallets, and all of a sudden you're having to use mink oil on them, it's cracking, you're buying new stuff. Don't waste your money on it if you're not going to do that type of maintenance. Another maintenance item to think about is anything that touches your physical body, a part of your EDC. If you want to kit yourself out with all sorts of stuff, it's not necessarily needed, but you may want it just because you think it's cool, just because you may find other folks are using it. You're going to have a level of maintenance you have to think about for that type of stuff. I'm wearing some Ray-Ban Metas. Like these things for their Bluetooth capabilities, for their availability to actually use for sunglasses and stuff like that. But I got to clean them off. I got to do maintenance. They get scratched. My kids get a hold of them, etc., etc. Even stuff like your EDC watches, your paracord bracelets, all that type of stuff that you guys wear, you have to do maintenance for that stuff as well. So you may want to decide that you want to carry that stuff, use that stuff, but sometimes if you don't want to have to worry about taking off bands and cleaning it and replacing it and finding things to maintenance it out, you may want to scrap it all together. I'm not saying you have to, but, or you can just let it get gross and be a weirdo, whatever, but maintenance comes in every form. I'd rather spend my time doing stuff like working on my kiddos' toys than always having to do small maintenance on things I don't enjoy. Or I'll wear those items knowing that I'm gonna do the maintenance no matter what. Here's another everyday carry item that could be it could be a bee in your bonnet, okay? If you're the type of person that likes to EDC medical equipment, you might want to make sure that stuff is good to go at all times. Whether you're buying a pre-packaged med kit, sort of something like this that comes from Adventure Medical Kits, which I love these things a lot, but you still want to check these things out to make sure that things inside are still good to go. The afterbite, pain reliever, antihistamines, make sure that nothing has expired, especially if you're DIYing your own type of kits. Take a peek inside, make sure that nothing has expired, everything is still good to go. There's nothing that you're going to need to immediately replace. Now, the ins and out of all this stuff is pretty critical. If you go to use something that has some type of chemical inside of it, some type of saline, something that has an expiration or could become from being a good thing to a harmful thing, it can be a hindrance. The biggest point of the video is you want EDC to kind of help you along the way, not get in your way. So as soon as your everyday carry becomes a hindrance, becomes a headache, something that you don't want to do, too hard to clean, too hard to sharpen, too hard to just do maintenance every day, kick it out of your EDC. I've had to do that with some stuff that I love to use, love to carry. I got a lot of kids. I got a lot of responsibilities, and I don't have a lot of time for things that get on my nerves. Comment down below, are there things that I'm missing out of this list that become a hindrance? Tools, multi-tools, other things, bags, cameras, whatever. Let me know, what are some EDC items that are hard to maintain, hard to clean, and we need to get rid of them or consider not using them. If this is your first time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you a part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.